If you fall behind on your payments, the people you owe money to will start phoning you and sending you letters. They may eventually decide to send your file to a collection agency. I'm Doug Hoyes, a licensed insolvency trustee with Hoyes, Michaelis & Associates. Today I'm going to talk to you about when you might want to ignore those collection calls and when you shouldn't. To do this, we're going to review two important concepts: old debts and what it means to be creditor-proof. There are two definitions of an old debt. First, a debt is old if it's older than the statute of limitations for collection in your province. In Ontario, for basic debts like credit cards, the limitation period is 2 years. We have an entire video on the statute of limitations, which we'll link to at the end of this video, but basically, if your debt is more than 2 years old in Ontario, your creditors are not allowed to start any legal action to try to collect on that debt. If they did sue you, you'd go to court and tell the judge the debt is too old. A second definition of an old debt is a debt that is too old to remain on your credit report. In Canada, debts are purged from your credit report 6 years from the date of last activity. So if you stop paying and they don't sue you, 6 years later, the debt disappears from your credit report. So if you apply for new credit, your new lender won't know about the old debt, unless of course it's with the same bank. Here's the important part. Any payments you make to a creditor or collection agent resets the clock on both of these definitions. Making a small partial payment may not be your wisest course of action. But even though you may not get sued or the debt may eventually be purged from your credit report, the debt itself doesn't go away. So what should you do? Well, if all you have is an old small debt, you can choose to pay it in full or ignore it. Ignoring it, it won't appear on your credit report after 6 years, but collection agents may still call you even years later. What do you do if you can't pay it, don't want to deal with the calls, or perhaps you have other debts? Is there another time you should ignore your debts? That's where this concept of being creditor-proof needs to be considered. If a non-government creditor, like a bank, sues you, they have two options to enforce collection of what you owe. They can garnish your wages, and they can take money directly from your bank account if you bank where you owe money. That's what's known as the right of offset. Canada Revenue Agency doesn't need to sue you for tax debts. They have the power to keep your tax refund or HST checks. So if you owe money to the government, they can even freeze your bank account and put a lien on your house. A creditor can garnish your wages and take money from your bank account. But if you're not working and don't have any wages, there is nothing there for your creditors to garnish. In Canada, creditors can't garnish pension and ODSP payments either. If you open a new bank account at a new bank where you don't owe any money, and don't tell your old creditors about that bank account, your creditors can't take money from a bank account they don't know about. So, in other words, if you have no wages or assets and bank at a new bank, you are creditor-proof. If you're creditor-proof right now, it may make sense to do nothing and ignore those collection calls. Doing nothing may be a better option than bankruptcy. Filing bankruptcy does come with a cost. Sometimes it's best to do nothing for a while so you can use whatever money you have to pay rent and buy groceries, and when you're back to work and have wages to garnish, that's when you consider filing bankruptcy or a consumer proposal to protect your wages. Remember though, the debts don't go away if you do nothing. Collection calls will likely continue. Once you know you'll return to work, or if you don't want the stress of dealing with collection calls, you can talk to your trustee about the best time to file bankruptcy if that's what you choose to do.